There is no doubt that every human being who comes into this world must inevitably face death one day. This inevitability is not exclusive to humans. All living beings, regardless of their lifespan, must ultimately depart from this world. However, is it conceivable that a human or any other living organism could ever evade death? Will science ever advance to a point where it can revive a deceased individual or render someone immortal? It may surprise you to learn that an American company is already actively working on this concept, making significant strides toward developing a formula that could, in essence, deceive death. Welcome once again to Factopedia's video coverage. Just as the design of airplanes falls under the field of aeronautics, the design of electronic devices belongs to electronics, and the design of robots is known as robotics. The preservation of human bodies in anticipation of future revival is categorized as cryonics. Individuals. Experts remain highly optimistic that within the next 50 to 70 years, medical science will progress to a level where it can either prevent human death or successfully revive deceased individuals. For those who wish to return to life after death and have unwavering faith in medical science, there exists a facility in Scottsdale, Arizona, operated by Alcor Life Extension Foundation. From the exterior, the facility appears like any other ordinary office building. However, at its core lies an extraordinary sight: large, stainless steel cryogenic storage tanks emitting vapor. Inside these tanks, nearly 300 human bodies have been preserved, along with 33 deceased animals, all frozen in the hope of being revived in the future. At Alcor, death is not perceived in the conventional sense. The organization's team believes that these individuals remain essentially human, with the only distinction being that their hearts have stopped beating, and they are in a prolonged state of dormancy. Aside from this, every other aspect of their bodies remains in optimal condition. One could even say that, for these 300 individuals, time has effectively been paused for several decades. If, in the next 70 years, medical science successfully discovers a way to restore life, these individuals will be reanimated, much like the futuristic scenarios depicted in science fiction films involving time travel or time machines. The interior of these cryogenic storage tanks is maintained at an exceptionally low temperature, far colder than even the most frigid regions on Earth, such as Antarctica. Filled with liquid nitrogen, the temperature inside these tanks is meticulously maintained at an astonishing -196 degrees Celsius through a computer-controlled system that operates continuously, 24/7. In the event of a power outage, backup generators are in place to ensure uninterrupted preservation. Each large cryogenic tank accommodates for full-body patients and 5 neuropatients, individuals who have opted to preserve only their heads. In fact, among the 300 individuals preserved at Alcor, 116 have chosen to freeze only their heads. The rationale behind this decision is that the human brain, containing all memories and cognitive data, remains entirely intact. Cryonics researchers believe that when these individuals are revived, only their brains and facial features will be original, while the rest of their body parts will be artificial. These individuals will retain all pre-death memories, and will be able to use their brains just as any normal person would. Their artificial bodies will receive signals from their original brains, and their synthetic hearts will pump blood in the same manner as a natural heart. However, the question remains, how feasible is all of this? Cryonics is far more complex than it appears. Simply submerging a body in liquid nitrogen is not sufficient. Rather, the process involves a highly sophisticated and costly procedure. To cryopreserve a full human body for 50 years, an individual must pay approximately $200,000, equivalent to nearly 165 million Pakistani rupees. If someone wants to cryoprotect only their head, they must pay $80,000 before their death, which is approximately 6 million rupees. Once the conditions are accepted and all documentation is complete, the patient's name is added to Alcor's waiting list. Being on the waiting list means that Alcor's team of doctors starts monitoring the patient, waiting for their death. Yes, a remote team of doctors remains on call 24/7. As soon as they receive news that the patient is about to die, they immediately reach the hospital and begin their special arrangements. Within an hour of the patient's death, they are transported to Alcor's facility, where the cryoprotection process begins. Experts believe that the sooner the process starts after death, the higher the chances of revival. But what exactly is the process that plays a crucial role in bringing someone back to life? After death, the human heart stops, and blood flow in the veins ceases. When different body parts no longer receive blood supply, they begin to fail one by one. To maintain blood flow between death and the start of cryoprotection, a mechanical pump is attached to the patient's chest. This pump artificially circulates blood throughout the body, ensuring that the brain and organs remain supplied with oxygen. But the process doesn't stop here. Once in the operating room, the real action begins. All the blood is drained from the patient's body using a pump, and in its place, a special chemical is introduced. It is essential to understand that the human body consists of 60% water. If it is directly exposed to liquid nitrogen, the water inside the cells will form ice crystals, causing the cells to rupture, making any future repair impossible. To prevent this, Alker's doctors replace the blood with an antifreeze liquid, which helps preserve the organs. The body temperature is then gradually lowered. While normal water freezes at 0 degrees C, the freezing point of the antifreeze liquid is much lower. The benefit of this is that as the body cools down, the organs freeze in a controlled manner without forming harmful ice crystals. Eventually, the body reaches a point where it becomes as solid as glass. At this stage, it is placed into a liquid nitrogen tank, where it remains preserved indefinitely at -196 degrees C. It takes the medical team around 12 hours to complete the full-body cryoprotection process. However, for those who choose to preserve only their head, the procedure takes approximately 6 hours. The brain is cryoprotected and then stored in a container inside the nitrogen tank. Walking past these vapor-emitting containers feels like passing through a graveyard. It is hard to believe that, with advancements in technology, these individuals might one day be revived. Each container is labeled with a photograph of the patient inside, and their families are allowed to visit regularly. Among these patients is Anita Ruskin from California. She suffered from cancer in various parts of her body, and knew she didn't have long to live. Hoping for a second chance at life, she registered herself with Alcor while still alive. In the final days of her life, she gave several TV interviews, and even allowed the cryonics procedure performed on her to be filmed. Her husband, who remained by her side until her last breath, has also decided to undergo cryonics in the hope that, in the future, they might reunite in this world. Viewers, we have seen the concept of cryonics in science fiction movies like Captain America and Star Wars. But is science fiction finally becoming reality? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video from Factopedia. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you for your heartfelt comments. See you in the next exciting video.